Hi, my name is Judy. Today we are doing a yin yoga practice that is approximately 40 to 45 minutes. The thumbnail for this video should tell you exactly how long it was. And we are working physically on our entire posterior chain, that is your back, your hips, your glutes, your lower back. We're getting into that a lot. And on a more subtle level, a more energetic and mindful level, we are working a lot today with surrender. In yoga, that's called Ishwara Pranidhana. Hold that thought. You don't actually need any props for this practice, but you may want a block. I'm sitting on one right now. You might like a blanket to pad your knees in some poses. These things are things you should almost always have on hand when you practice yoga. And to begin with, I will go into what we're doing a little bit more as we start our practice. But begin with, come to an easy, comfortable seat and close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Just take a moment to check in with yourself. See where you are right now. Begin to notice your breath without trying to change it. Soften your forehead. Let your jaw, your tongue, and your neck all relax. Release any tension you might feel in your shoulders or your upper back. And we're going to take 3 relaxing, cleansing breaths. We're going to inhale through our nose, and then we're just going to let it all go and exhale out through our mouth, letting everything go. Let's begin. Inhale through your nose, 2, 3, and exhale through your mouth. Make a ha sound, 2, 3. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, ha. And last one, inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, let it all go. Make that ha sound, ha. And just let that go. Let your breath come back to normal. Begin to blink your eyes open. And turn to the short end of your mat. Come off anything you might be sitting on. Setting that aside. Come into a tabletop pose where your shoulders are over your wrists and your hips are over your knees. Inhale, exhale, curl your toes under and begin to lift your legs up off the mat, pushing your glutes towards the ceiling, coming into down dog. Maybe very quickly giving a little walk to your dog and bending one knee, straightening the other leg. Then the opposite knee bends and straighten the other leg. Just a couple more times. And then walk your feet to your hands and just dangle over your feet. Breathing in and out through your nose. Really trying to relax all the muscles in your body. Head really points down towards your mat. And we are thinking about surrender right here. In yoga, that is Ishwara Pranidhana, which is surrender to the divine, which is exactly what I'd like you to think about in this pose, dangling pose. You can even take your hands palm up. Just showing your willingness to receive whatever is coming your way from the universe. And it's okay to have a slight bend in your knees here. Or not, if that's more comfortable for you, although of course you don't want to lock out your knees completely. And take your palms to the mat, bend your knees, bring them down to the mat. Come back into a tabletop position, really checking in to make sure that your hips are over your knees and your legs are about hip width apart. You might want to pad your knees in this pose. I'm going to scooch back a little bit so you guys can see me. And you might want to grab a couple of blocks either for your head, one block for your head, or perhaps a couple of blocks for your hands. We're going to begin to walk our hands out without moving those hips, so the hips stay over the knees. And slowly, slowly reaching down. Maybe your forehead comes to your mat. Maybe you grab a block and put it under your forehead, which is extremely calming. Maybe you need a blanket under your knees, melting heart. And we're still thinking about surrender. And in this pose, we're thinking about surrendering to our breath. Begin to really push into your palms to slowly begin to raise your head, and then slowly walk your hands back underneath your shoulders and just pause here for a second. And take your legs out to one side. Come to sit down on your mat and bring your legs out in front of you. Knees can be bent if that's comfortable for you. You can also be sitting up on one of your blocks if this feels uncomfortable in your hips. This is caterpillar pose, or it will be when we start to fold. So to begin, I'd like you to inhale and get a little taller. Take your hands down by your thighs, palms face up, and then begin to let your head be very heavy and let it point straight down towards your mat. And in dragon caterpillar pose, I'd like you to think about surrendering to stillness. Stillness is one of the principles of yin yoga. We try, once we get into a pose, not to fidget, to just relax. And we'll move slightly as time and gravity begins to open our body more and more. In this case, we're opening down towards the earth. This is a very grounding practice. So it's a good practice anytime you feel like you're not focused, you're very scattered, and you feel like there's just not enough time for anything. This is a great practice. Notice anywhere in your body you're holding tension. Maybe it's your glutes, maybe it's your shoulder, maybe it's your head. See if you can relax it even just 10% more. If your palms are up towards the ceiling, go ahead and bring them to your mat. Slowly begin to straighten your back. And the head is the last thing to come up. And maybe just open your legs as wide as the mat. And go ahead and let them fall from side to side. Sometimes we need just a little bit of movement in between poses. Go ahead and come to your face the long side of your mat. If you have a nice carpeted floor or you have a couple of blankets you can put underneath your legs, feel free to face the short end of your mat. I need to face you so you can see what I'm doing. Bring your legs out so they're pointing towards either side of your mat. We're not trying to get them straight out to each side. If you can do that, go you. I can't do that. This is dragonfly pose. You might want a couple of blocks in front of you. I'm going to use a couple of blocks. Put your hands on those blocks. Inhale. Once again, come up straight. Exhale, begin to fold forward. Knees once again can be bent if that's comfortable for you. Notice wherever you're holding tension again and just let that go. And speaking of letting go, here we are surrendering our ego, not surrendering to our ego, but surrendering it. For instance, as a yoga teacher, what I really want for you is to feel the peace that yoga can bring you. But sometimes I get tied up in wanting to know that you liked this practice. It makes me feel good, of course. And yet my focus really is on you, on my students. And see if you are slowly going down towards the floor without pushing yourself to the floor. Just let gravity take you down. This is dragonfly in yin yoga. So we're trying to surrender that ego. We're not getting rid of it. Another way ego often shows up in life, very similar, is social media. The more likes we get or we don't get, we base our self-worth on that. And, sometimes these are people we don't know at all. What does it matter? It doesn't matter if some random stranger likes your video or not. Is that your ego talking? And go ahead and press into your hands and then walk them back towards your body. Bring your legs back together. You might want to hold on to your blocks for our next pose. Take your legs behind you. Feel free to windshield wiper your legs out again if you feel the need for that. I'm going to go ahead and grab my blocks for the next pose. So if you think you're going to want blocks, or even if you don't think you want them, have them towards the top of your mat on their highest height. You can always change the height once we get into the pose. And by now you should be in a tabletop pose once again. Shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And on your next inhale, step your right foot forward, coming into a low lunge position. In yin yoga, we call this dragon pose. So if you're familiar with yoga philosophy at all, you might recognize Ishwara Pranidhana is part of the Niyamas. That is a set of guidelines for our personal life. We're actually going to work through them all in this practice. The main focus of the practice was on surrender, as I created it. It can be whatever you want. And now we're moving into this is not in order. There are 5 niyamas. We're moving into the next one as I have done it in this particular practice, and that is tapas. Tapas is often translated as discipline, which is a great translation. So it takes discipline to get on your mat. It takes discipline to stay in the longer holds of yin yoga. But the interpretation I'd like you to think about today is transformation. What do you need to do to transform? What do you need to commit to transform? And your hands, of course, can also be on the mat. Make sure your shoulders are not getting up near your ears. Relax them down your back. And then your next inhale, begin to come back into your tabletop pose. And maybe just move that hip a little bit. Little circles, just getting a little circulation back into that right hip. And then on your next inhale, step forward with your left foot for the second side. And again, we're thinking about our tapas, our heat, our discipline, the things we need to do that we may or may not want to do, or perhaps we do want to do them, but we don't yet have that tapas, that discipline, And even though we want that transformation, we're just not doing the things that we know we need to do. So just ponder that as we relax into dragon pose on the left side. And slowly begin to bring that front leg back. So dragging that foot along your mat, and again, little circles if it feels good to you. You can move in any way that feels good to you. Getting a little movement back into that hip. And go ahead and take your legs out to the side. You can grab your blocks. You can bring them over to the side. You may or may not want one block and one last move. That's not in this next move, although even in the next move, blocks are it's always good to have them close to hand. Go ahead and bring yourself all the way over to the right side of your mat. Soles of your feet are on your mat. Slowly begin to bend your elbows, bringing your back down on your mat. Head comes all the way down to your mat. And take your right leg, cross it over your left, and then just let them fall over towards the left. Your right arm can come out to the side. Unfortunately, my room's a little small, so that won't happen, but feel free to do that with yours. And this is a reclined spinal twist. Yes, not all yin yoga poses have cool names. So the niyama I want you to think about here is saucha. And that is often translated as cleanliness or purity. But the interpretation I'd like you to think about today is mindfulness. Where in your life do you need to be mindful? Where in your practice do you need to be mindful? Do you need to be mindful about your edge in your poses and making sure you're not going too deep into them? Just food for thought. If your knee is far away from the floor, as mine actually is, you can always grab that block and put it underneath your knee if that makes you feel more comfortable. You can roll up a blanket, do the same thing with that. That's why I say it's always good to have blocks nearby. Maybe put a smile on your face. And then begin to point your knees back up towards the ceiling, slowly unraveling your legs, lifting your hips and bringing them over to the left side of your mat. Take your left leg, cross it over your right. Let your knees fall over towards the right. This time I can open up my arm into a half T. So I suggest that you take that left arm out to a half T if that feels comfortable for you. I like to hold on to the bent knee. Again, no need to do that if it doesn't feel right to you. And bringing yourself back to mindfulness. Where in your practice, where in your life, do you need mindfulness or saucha? And if you notice that you're really holding tension across that upper back, as I just noticed with myself through my mindfulness, go ahead and see if you can relax that. Let that go. The mat and the earth are going to hold you. You do not need to tense your upper back to keep yourself in this pose. And let go of your knee if you're holding onto it. Unwind your legs. Point your knees back up towards the ceiling. Your back is now on the mat. You're mostly towards the center of your mat. And inhale, bend one knee in towards your right shoulder. Reach the right hand down to catch that leg, that foot. Or it can be your leg, it can be on your shin. And then inhale, bring the left leg towards the left shoulder. Feet are flexed, almost as if you are standing on the ceiling. This is happy baby. If this is too much for you, go ahead and leave one foot on your mat with the knee pointed towards the ceiling, and I will tell you when to switch. And for happy baby, we're going to think about santosha. Santosha is generally translated as contentment. And basically that's finding the contentment with your life every day, in every moment. As we know, that's not always easy. And I'd also like you to think about accepting yourself completely, because that's what babies do. They don't worry how they look. They don't worry if they got a little tummy or if they have full cheeks. As long as they're loved and fed and changed, they are generally happy. So can you accept yourself as fully as a happy baby can? And if you took half happy baby, then go ahead and switch legs now. No matter which variation you took, gently release your feet. Take the soles of your feet back to your mat. Take your arms out by your sides, palm up or palm down. Reach one leg long on your mat, let it fall open. Then reach the other leg long on your mat, let that fall open. Moving into Shavasana, corpse pose. You will hear me get up just to sit, but I invite you to stay in Shavasana as I talk a little bit more, and I will let you know when it's time to come out. So before we completely relax into Shavasana, I'd like you to think about the last niyama, and that is Svadhyaya. And Svadhyaya means self-study. So as you are relaxing into Shavasana, perhaps think a little bit about, what did you learn today in this practice? Maybe you learned something that I imparted. Maybe you learned a new pose. Maybe bringing the niyamas into your practice made it a deeper practice. Maybe it didn't. And just begin to relax. Just breathe normally, except for breathing in and out through your nose, but don't try and control it. Just let it be. And relax your toes. Relax your feet. Relax your ankles. Relax your lower legs. Relax your knees. Relax your upper legs. Relax your hips. Relax your glutes, your stomach. Relax your lungs, your back. Relax your fingers. Relax your hands. Relax your wrists. Relax your lower arms. Relax your elbows. Relax your upper arm. Relax your throat. Let your jaw soften. Relax your tongue. Relax your eyes. And just let go. Begin to wiggle your toes and your fingers while keeping your eyes closed if they're closed. And then begin to make circles with your wrists and your ankles in one direction and the other. As Stretch your arms up above your head and your feet away from those arms. Maybe giving a yawn or an inhale through the nose and letting it out through the mouth again. Maybe turning the head from side to side. And then just slowly roll onto whichever side feels right to you, bringing the knees in so you're in a fetal position. Relaxing your head on your bottom arm, and take a few deep breaths here. Keeping your eyes closed. Thinking about surrendering, thinking about all the different areas of surrender that we explored. I created this practice because while I do have a deep belief in a higher power, it does seem as if I've been stuck, almost as if somebody has been conspiring against me. And it's hard to see what that plan is. And sometimes when you feel that way, you just have to surrender and have that faith that there is a higher power working in your greatest good, even though you can't see it. That is Ishwara Pranidhana. And of course, we also went through Sausha, purity, mindfulness, santosha, contentment, svadhyaya, self-study, and tapas, discipline, heat, transformation. Those are the 5 niyamas. Those are the 5 practices to practice on your mat and off your mat. And now begin to slowly raise yourself into an easy seated position. And I'd like to end our class the same way we began, with a few deep cleansing breaths. So inhale, 2, 3, let it all go. 2, 3. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale through your mouth. 2, 3. Last one, make it the biggest, fullest breath. Inhale, 1, 2, 3. Exhale, 1, 2, 3. Slowly begin to blink your eyes open, taking in the mat. Bring your hands together in Anjali Mudra in front of your heart, prayer position. And then slowly raise your eyes. Thank yourself for giving yourself the time to do this practice today. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for joining me. I know you have the choice of many different yoga teachers online. If you did like this practice, please go ahead and click the like button. Subscribe to know when new videos are added to this channel. And thank you so much for joining me today. And don't forget, every day, go inside and find the happiness, the santosha, the bliss that is waiting for you there.